IMF has told something that goes against India's growth story. But is it real or is it made up? Is world ganging up against India? So what lies behind the numbers that IMF has told? What are the reasons behind it? Let us try to understand in today's session. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and in today's session we will be looking into the global rankings which have changed for India. Based on our GDP, we have slipped to the 6th position and UK has climbed up to the 5th. What are the factors behind it? We will be understanding all of it. So let us start with understanding the first thing, that why exactly India has slipped and what are the numbers that we are looking at. So as of now, if you look at India's GDP has been given as $4.15 trillion and UK has $4.26 trillion. Now based on this, what has been done, that India comes at the 6th position and UK has upgraded to 5th position. But this is very questionable when we are seeing that India is growing as one of the fastest across the world. Different agencies and also our numbers say it lies somewhere between 6.5 to 7.4%. Now, this seems a little contradictory. Our global rankings are dipping, but we are saying we are the strongest across the globe. So how is this happening? So the answer to this paradox is a very simple analytic which I am going to explain. When we are talking about rankings, they are based on, when we look at the ranking, they are based on nominal GDP. But when we are trying to look at growth, that is understood through real GDP. Now, if we are trying to understand that, ma'am, why we have had a slip, the slip has multiple reasons such as depreciation of Indian rupee, revision of GDP base year, also relative currency appreciation of UK and external macroeconomic conditions. But don't worry, don't get confused, we will be trying to knit all of this together, starting with understanding nominal GDP and real GDP. So when we look at real GDP, let us talk about that first. Real GDP is the output which is inflation adjusted. So when we are talking about GDP, gross domestic product, the total amounts of goods and services produced in domestic area is referred to GDP. Now when we are talking about real GDP, what does change here? It is inflation adjusted. But when we are looking at nominal GDP, we do not have inflation adjustment because real GDP is measured using a reference year, that is base year. But when we are talking about nominal GDP, it is measured at the current year prices. So the inflation would be present in there, it is not inflation adjusted. When we are using a base year, inflation adjustment takes place. So real GDP gives us an actual increase in production and that can actually tell us about the economic performance based on real numbers domestically. But when we are talking about nominal GDP, as I said, it is calculated at current prices. Now another factor that you need to understand here, this is converted to dollars. When we are looking at a GDP, if it is in rupees, it is converted to dollars. How it would be converted? It would be done based on the exchange rate. So if exchange rate has some huge change, that will also be impacting here. So when we are talking about nominal GDP is used for assessing a country's global ranking by IMF. So in this context, our actual performance can be understood by real GDP, which is not being used, and nominal GDP has been used. So if we look at it critically, we clearly get to see that a country may have high real growth, but at the same time it is possible that they have stagnant or declining nominal GDP, which might be calculated in dollars. So as a result, that is exactly what we are seeing for India. India's real growth remains strong. But because nominal GDP in dollars is affected by exchange rate dynamics and others, we are seeing a dip here and that's why the slip in ranking. Now let us further take a deep dive, now that we have understood real GDP and nominal GDP, that how exchange rate has a direct effect on nominal GDP calculation. So for this, first we have to understand a very simple So if we are talking about GDP that is calculated in dollars, okay, it would be done by GDP which is present in rupees, but it will be on exchange rate, upon exchange rate, correct? Now in this situation, if rupee depreciates, that means the denominator is going to increase, and if the denominator is going to increase here, we will see a dip here. Now remember that how especially in past 3 weeks rupee has seen huge volatility. There were instances twice where rupee has gone touched 95 per dollar and come back. And at the same time, when we are looking at UK's currency, that is pound, that has appreciated. So in the case of appreciation, exchange rate goes down and GDP calculated, nominal GDP goes up. So what we get to see? Same GDP in rupees, nothing has changed, but it will show lower GDP in dollar, and that is why we are seeing the ranks falling for India. So in front of us, what do we have? We have a comparative effect. UK benefits from currency strength and India loses from currency's weakening. And that is why we can clearly establish that we understood from the equation also that exchange rate volatility can have an impact on the global rankings. Now, another factor that I discussed in the starting but we did not detail it out was GDP base year, because another important role in the dip that has come has been because of GDP base year. So when we are looking at old GDP series, there we had higher nominal numbers, which was for 2011-12. Now the new GDP series is out. That means we have revised the methodology, and based on the new base year, what are we seeing? We are seeing lower nominal GDP, almost a 4% decline. So what number looked as 357 lakh crore, now it has become 345.5 lakh crore. This is nothing but reduction in nominal GDP, and because we have reduced value in rupees, further reduced value in dollars, rank has declined. So what is in front of us is a methodological or statistical correction. It does not indicate economic slowdown, it does not indicate decline in production. Now this is where the question arises if the GDP rankings are telling us the real story. So we need to understand what ranking depends on. Ranking depends on exchange rate, inflation, other countries' performance and data revision. So in this context, if you see, India exchange rate was a problem, inflation is becoming a problem now, others countries' performance enhanced, so again a problem for India, and data revision also took place. So if ranking depends on all of this, we can clearly understand what is being showed is not just about India's internal numbers or the macroeconomic indicators, but also certain external factors. Now furthermore, in this ranking as well, we also need to understand that India's strengths are still intact, such as we are still the fastest growing major economy, we still have a strong domestic demand, domestic consumption demand, and CAGR is looking good with 8.5% increase. So what lies in front of us is compound annual growth rate is doing fine, and the drivers behind it are also okay. So global ranking is just about statistical correction and also how nominal GDP has a direct impact towards ranking. So you have to remember that. The limitation that we can understand based on ranking, that we are having a relative comparison and we are also very sensitive to external global factors as well. Now what are your thoughts on this? Let me know, and I will be moving further to discuss and understand that what does India's growth story look like now. We are expected to be the $4 trillion economy very soon. If you look at the given numbers as of now, yes, India's number fall a little behind, as compared to UK. But at the same time, the projections which we have, especially for 2031, it looks like that it is not just going to be Japan and UK that we will be leaving behind, it is also going to be Germany that we will be leaving behind, and we would be the third largest based on this very projection. Apart from that, the key drivers which have been identified today will remain intact to contribute to the number that we are talking about, such as demographic dividend. But I have a question for you. What are the challenges which are present to ensure that these key drivers deliver? Digital economy and also the infrastructure push. So these are the ones which will be pulling the number for us, but there are certain challenges which are present. So think about them and let me know in the comment section. Now this was all from my end. If you have any doubts, you can put it down in the comment section. I'll be leaving you here with one last prelims practice question. Let me know the answer in the comment section. Thank you so much.